Hi everyone. It seems like we are directly starting with the next session. Is it right, Kelly? Yes, I think so. Especially because we are a little bit over time, but yes, I hope you don't have enough content right now and you're still with us. So just a short intro from Norbert and me. Maybe I just start because I'm speaking already, Norbert. Hi everyone, I'm Lara. I'm from Staffbase, from the strategic advisory team as well as Jeff and Sebastian. And I'm coming from the steel industry, from internal comms, change management, and a little bit HR expertise. And yes, I'm really happy to introduce you into the world of comms and HR. Norbert and I, we like to call it as a dream team. So yes, I hope we give you a little bit inspiration how to work together, how to create communication together. Yes, and more about you, Norbert.
Yeah, my name is Norbert Schaffer. I'm a strategic consultant. I spent most of my business life in Deutsche Post DHL. As mentioned, the last 10 years, head of digital media, introduced several intranets, and the last one was a big workspace solution, digital workplace based on Staffbase as a front door intranet and also as an employee app.
Great, thank you. Then I will directly jump into our agenda. We will show you a little bit background why we are talking about employee experience or people experience. I'm not 100% sure how big this word is, especially in the US at the moment. So maybe just let us know if you heard about it already or if it's a topic in your company. Right now in Germany and in Europe, we are talking a lot about it, but it's still like a big gray bubble where we do not know how to focus it exactly. So that is the reason why we want to give you a little bit background, why this is important. Then I will show you the perspectives and the different roles that HR and comms usually have and how we can use especially intranets or employee apps to combine both departments and the content of both departments so that the relevance and yes, the importance of the content is the right one for the employees. And we will show you two examples how pages and how content could look like in an intranet and in an app. And in the end, Norbert will show you how to measure this whole thing if HR and comms as a dream team are successful and have a successful impact for the company. So we start with the first point, why employee experience is important, and I give my word back to Norbert.
Thank you, Lara. Yeah, we see at the moment the world is in crisis mode. In Germany, we have a so-called German Language Society, which is an organization that cares about the German language, and it has chosen the expression crisis mode as the word of the year 2023. That has something to do with climate change, wars, COVID, and obviously the everyday lives of many people is characterized by feelings such as insecurity, fear, anger, helplessness. And what we also see is that psychotherapy practices are full. Many younger people in particular are looking for purpose, and they also taking this search into the companies. And what does that mean for the companies? Lara and myself, we discovered a very interesting survey by Gallup, which is a global analytics and advisory firm. I think the HR guys here in the call might know the company. And Gallup conducted a survey in more than 160 countries with extensive random samples of working populations in countries like the US or Germany, for example. And the outcome is truly alarming, and you see it here on the slide. So the global majority of employees, namely 59%, are so-called quiet quitters. And what quiet quitting means, these employees, they're filling a seat and watching the clock, but they are not really productive. So they put only a minimum effort and they are completely disconnected with the company. And although they might be minimal productive, they're more likely to be stressed and burnt out than engaged workers. So this is the one side of the medal. But what was even more alarming and even worse is 18% of the employees are so-called loud quitters. So they are really actively disengaged. So these employees take actions that directly harm the organization, and they are completely disconnected from the company. And the positive side is here that 23% are really engaged at work. They find their work meaningful and feel connected to the team and the organization, but it's only 23%. So obviously, most companies are not in the position to provide a really positive experience in the workplace. And so the everyday employee experience in the companies obviously is negative. So the conclusion from that can only be the companies have to put the focus on the employees. They put their focus on investors and customers in former times, but now it's really important to put focus on the employees. And I think that I like really a quote from Richard Branson, which said a few years ago. He said, "Clients do not come first; employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of your clients." And if we look at some quotes here, and maybe you go to the next slide, Lara, you can see that here that the experience of employees means really more than money and vacation. So we have quotes here coming from surveys saying, "I wish my manager was more present. It has happened many times that I have addressed things, that staff members have addressed things. Nothing changes. I just don't feel like there is a lot of room for me to grow internally." So these are the negative quotes here. But on the other hand, people say that we are not only co-workers, we are friends. So we hang out outside, we have barbecues, we go to bars together, we hang out together. So I like it. So we see here it's super important, this experience in the job, but also outside the job, obviously here. And so what's quite clear is so that companies need a positive employee experience. But the question is, what is that exactly? Who is responsible, and what role internal comms and HR play in that game? And Lara will tell us that in the next few minutes.
Yes, thank you, Norbert. Exactly. We will directly take a look on how we try to define the different perspectives and what people usually understand when we talk about employee experience or people experience. And this is not only our opinion, this is a result of many studies and researches from a lot of experts and consulting groups, etc. So what we started to do, because it was really hard to say this one sentence means people experience, because it's a lot about emotions and personal requirements. So we started to say, okay, when we talk about employee experience, we definitely see a time-related process, which means that is more coming from the HR perspective. You can see the different steps on the top, like from attract to alumni. And that is actually a process HR managers are thinking in. And they try to bring the people through this process in the best way. In the past, we saw that this process could be really stiff, for example, and maybe not really about having a relationship to the people, thinking about emotions or personal needs within those steps. It was more like, okay, we need the technical data, we need the check marks, and we need the knowledge where people are going through at the moment. But it was not about how do the people feel within those moments and what is important to them when they, for example, become parents or get really sick or have mental health issues or something like that, or even get a promotion. This is also a really emotional moment sometimes. So I think we think it's still important to see this process and to say, yes, an employee experience will definitely go along those different steps or moments, like we call it sometimes. But this is not the only perspective. Below, you can see that we expand the people experience arrow a little bit. This is our personal understanding when we talk about employee experience. It's really the part when they are working and when they have a contract with a company, and people experience might be the process that starts a little bit earlier and ends a little bit later. But we have to be honest, in the end, the wording is very, very similar, and there is no mistake if you just use people experience or employee experience. It's more about how do you define that, and yes, how do you live it in a company. So the wording is not so important. So we saw this way of structure a lot of times, and we see a lot of customers and companies who start to think in this process. Sometimes we have to be honest, they only rename their HR department into a people experience department and just try to keep the process as it is. Just the naming is different. That should not be the goal of creating people experience. So Norbert and I started to create and develop something like a model of people experience, and that I want to show you now. And we try to include everything that we were finding somewhere and try to bring it into a structure and into a workload that is possible for companies to work with. And we have 3 big categories that is people, workplace, and me. And then you see different types of points that belong to the 3 categories. And of course, the workplace part, that is a lot about basics. And we still think that is important, that people have a comfortable working place, that they maybe have a great office where they can go if it's too noisy at home, for example, that they get, of course, equipment, technical things that they need. They have access to everything that is work-related. So this is something that still needs to be focused, because we don't just want to dream about the big people experience. We also need the basics. That also includes new work, so everything around digitalization, new ways of working together, hybrid working models, etc. And of course, the culture. This is not only a basic, that is a really, really big thing. But we include that to workplace because we think culture has already been a big topic everywhere. We just want to remind the companies, don't forget this when you talk about people experience, because at the end, everything ends in the culture of a company, and the culture influences everything of the company. So that is everything around workplace. When we talk about people experience, we say those 3 topics we need to focus on and we need to work on. Then, of course, we have people, relationships, leadership is always a big topic, especially in strategic topics like change or mental health or health in general. The leadership team is always the part that needs to support it and that needs to be included. And of course, my team that is around me that I have to work with. So the people and how the people act and how the people behave is really important to create this experience that also belongs to the culture part. And maybe this is a little bit new for you, but we decided to keep that category of me, because we say sometimes we see a behavior like, okay, you are my employer, give me the best experience I could get, and I want this and that and this and that. And we say it's okay to have requirements to your employer and to say or to know what's important for you, but you are also part of that experience. And every individual of the company is creating this experience with their own goals, their own behavior, their mindset, etc. So we say, please take care that you also think about, what is my purpose? Is this purpose the same that the company has, for example? am I satisfied with my own tasks, or do I want to change something? Can I actively try to change something? Can I take care of my own growth? So it's not only like the employer is the giver of everything. Also, my own responsibility is needed to create this people experience. And we hope you agree that when we look at this cycle, we see that there are a lot of topics that are not only HR related, of course, not also only comms or internal comms related. But right now with our platform, we have a big power when it comes to comms and HR. So we want to focus on those two groups. Of course, IT, for example, is really important, and a lot of other departments. But we hope you agree that HR and comms can have a really, really big impact within this cycle. What we want to make clear is that the goal should not be that we just combine everything and that we make one big department. Sometimes we see that companies have a people experience department, but we just want to make sure that internal comms still has its responsibilities and tasks and responsibilities where internal comms is really, really good at, like creating or communicating a vision, setting news, information, community management, etc. And we want that internal comms keep that responsibilities, exactly like HR. They are experts in recruiting, trainings, payment, etc. And that should still be an HR task. And we don't want to combine the departments to one, but we see, and that is what you see in the middle, we see big strategic topics like digital workplace, mental health, Gen Z, change management. Oh, there's one German word left. So sorry. It means the climate change. And we would say, like, as you remember our cycle, those big strategic topics need to, or we need to go through the cycle and take care of all the different categories of the cycle to make those big strategic topics, like you see them in the middle, to make them successful. That is our opinion, and we say they can only be successful if HR and comms work together to create that cycle in the very best way. So I don't know if there are any questions at the moment. I come back to the chat. I'm not sure if I see the public chat right now, Norbert. No. Any questions somewhere, Kelly? If not, I just go on. No questions. Perfect. I hope that's a good sign. So what we want to show you now is how could this look like when you use an intranet or a mobile app, because we are talking a lot about the platform and the different channels we are using. So if you remember the cycle and the big strategic goals, and we really start to create a platform where HR and comms are part of and where they try to make the biggest relevance possible for the employees with their content. We just want to show you this example of a communication platform where IC and HR is already combined with their content. This is just the very beginning of working together. If you have really big strategic goals like mental health or change management, for example, of course, you need more pages, you need more channels, maybe campaigns, whatever it is. But we just want to make sure that the employees get familiar of, okay, the HR world is also part of my communication platform. And here we try to combine everything that is important for the employees. And you can see that on the right side, there are a lot of HR topics like trainings, onboarding, my HR world, but we also include IT. And below you see like a podcast, you see the news on the stage, you see the possibility to give feedback. So what we try to inspire you for is to really build this combination of HR and comms, and then to build the really big strategic topics directly with both departments, because often we see in change management, for example, that there are a lot of things that impact the employees, even with like salary or reducing the time that they need to work or something like that. So sometimes it really hurts. And we have this communication part that is always trying to keep the people aligned and to keep them on board and to explain the change. And then we have really hard HR decisions about the people. And I saw it a lot of times that the both processes are not aligned. The departments work on its own, and then it's really hard for the employees to understand the process, to understand the timing. They get confused, and that's always the worst thing that can happen in change. So especially for changes or for big transformations and all the other strategic topics, it's really important to build a group from HR and comms that create this platform together. And this is just the start with really general topics from both departments. Of course, you can also do that in a mobile version. So I think that is really important. We have a lot of conversations with customers that this is especially really, really important for the blue-collar workers. So the people that have no desktop access or no computers. So there we see even that is even more important to bring HR into the mobile version for the people who are not able to take a look on the computer or that have the time to go through all the different systems of HR in their break because they just working somewhere in an environment where it's not possible to take a longer break. So please bring those relevant content into your mobile apps so that especially the blue-collar worker are able to get more connected with the company, to get a better experience of their own daily business. And of course, of the things that are important to them, like the payroll or the shift plans, whatever it is. So yes, that is what we as Staffbase try to bring our customers to, that it's really about the relevance of the people, and HR is relevant for everyone. So comms can, or it's just a benefit for comms to include that department into their platforms. I hope it's understandable, and I hope it's not too small to read it. For the end, Norbert will show you how we can prove that this way is the right way and how we can have an impact on data or the things we saw in the beginning, the frustration within our employees and the loud and the quiet quitters, how we can improve this situation, how we can show the management that we improved something with the platforms in this situation. And yes, so I will give back to Norbert with the next slide, and I just will open everything.
Yeah, thank you, Lara. I'll show you a little bit background about the metrics, so the possible measurement of people experience or employee engagement. I think the easiest way to measure here is to run surveys regarding employee satisfaction. It's quite easy, and a lot of HR people know that with a yearly employee opinion survey, for example, where you can measure here the employee satisfaction with a company and the recommendation rate, for example. So something like a net promoter score. So would you recommend your employer to your friends, for example, could be a question there. And you can also measure, of course, more specific individual influencing factors. So what we showed here today in our model. So how satisfied are people with a purpose, with supervisors, with the team, with the digital workplace of a company, for example. And then you can go into the details of the digital workplace or of an intranet. So you can get a lot of information here from surveys. On the other hand, you can also get information from analysis. For example, you can measure the number of applications coming in, number of resignations, retention rates, health rates, suggestions for improvements which come from the employees, or interactions, for example, interactions in the digital workplace. I think Sebastian and Jeff mentioned that earlier in their presentation, that this is super important and one key element here of the Staffbase understanding of employee engagement. So that you can measure. And last but not least, I want to show you a kind of model and explain why it's so super important. Please stay here at the moment in the slide. Why it's so super important that HR and comms do that together. So if you ask yourself as internal comms or HR professionals, what is our purpose? What is our raison d'etre? Why we are there? You will, and you ask that why questions a lot of time. You come to the conclusion. You might come to the conclusion that it is that the purpose for internal comms and HR is exactly the increase of employee engagement, increase of employee satisfaction, and recommendation, and that you can really measure, like I showed you in the last slide. And this then makes it easier for you to really create a business case. We also see that understanding of a return on engagement, what was explained earlier here. So this is a common business case for internal comms and HR. And if you come to a shared vision and develop a shared vision, it's easy for comms and HR to derive goals, strategic goals from that vision and initiatives, which can be run then during the year. And as Lara explained, there might be some very specific things which should be internal comms and HR. But especially if you look at the digital world, you see a lot of fields here and initiatives that might be worth doing together, especially when it comes to build a new intranet or a new digital workplace in the company. I often see the situation that there should be a new intranet and there are maybe two internal comms people that don't have any capacity, and now they should build a new intranet. This is a typical situation which we see often in our consultant work here with companies. But there is no understanding that maybe if you combine the interests and combine the activities here of HR and comms, that you will get a win-win situation, and you also solve that capacity problem of internal comms, because both functions need each other. If you look at an intranet, at least 30%, and Sebastian explained that earlier, at least 30% of the content of an intranet is HR content. So you need, of course, a direct link to the HR services in an intranet, and a lot of HR information there. So it's super important that comms and HR do that together. And how you can do that together, I think there are different ways to do that. You can, for example, really build a center of excellence, which would be a center of excellence about people experience. But if that's not possible in a company, you should at least have a shared agenda and a shared strategy, like I show here, built by internal comms and HR. Then you can, for example, work together here in an agile way, where you have daily meetings, for example, and plan these initiatives which you have in your strategic goals. Do that together and build really a common understanding of people experience. Develop these common goals and really put them then into reality. So in the end, it's about then things like working together, really create a culture of sharing, open discussion culture, agile working methods, intelligent, personalized services for employees. All that should be in, but this comes from HR, for example, the services, the communication activities here come from internal comms, and that all builds together in the end a new world of employee engagement and people experience, which will bring the company forward and which also bring both the functions, internal comms and HR, forward, because they really can be key players in that game, and they should play together. And this is our message to you: play together, do that together, because in the end, your goal to increase employee satisfaction and to increase employee experience is the same. If your management asks you, what do you do about employee experience? I think a top manager, a CEO, will be glad if HR and comms come together in a steering board, for example, to present a common vision rather than coming with an HR platform and a separate internal comms app, and maybe IT comes with Office 365 without any thinking of putting the employee first. So it's about putting the employee in focus and doing the thing together here. And this is what we learned in the last years here, and we can give it to you. And I think that might be a big step forward in creating a new world also here for internal comms and HR, and building a dream team in the end.